She paid a stranger's bus fare with her last few coins. But what she did not know, he was a fallen billionaire, about to rise again. What he did next shocked an entire courtroom and changed her life forever. Stay with us till the end. This story will touch your heart and leave you inspired. Before we begin this powerful story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon so you never miss our life-changing content. If you find value in these stories, please like and share this video. It truly helps us reach more hearts. This channel is more than just storytelling. Every tale carries a deep moral lesson, designed to inspire, uplift, and transform lives. Poor girl pays bus fare for a stranger, not knowing he is billionaire. What he did surprised everyone.
The bus door creaked open.
The air was thick with summer heat, suffocating and heavy, as I stepped inside. I had no money, no phone, no name anyone would remember. Just the same torn shoes, the same empty stomach, and a bruised soul carrying more weight than any suitcase ever could. I was not always like this. Once, I had an office with glass walls and a nameplate that gleamed like gold. But now I was just a face, sweaty, unshaven, invisible. "Fare, sir?" The driver's voice cut through my thoughts. I reached into my pocket, already knowing it was empty. The other passengers looked away, uninterested or embarrassed for me.
And then, she stepped forward.
A soft voice behind me whispered, "It's all right, I'll pay for him."
I turned.
She wore an oversized cotton kurta, sandals barely holding together, and her hands trembled as she fished out coins from a tiny pouch. She had nothing.
Yet she gave. Not because she had the means, but because she had the heart.
I tried to refuse. She smiled, and it shattered something deep inside me. "I have been where you are," she said gently. "You just need one kind moment to remind you that the world has not forgotten you." We sat in silence. She stared out the window, and I stared at her, with disbelief, with shame, and with a quiet storm of gratitude.
Her name was Noor, a school teacher.
She earned barely enough to survive, but her eyes carried the kind of wealth most billionaires never touch: empathy. She talked to me as if I mattered. She asked nothing about my past, only about my dreams. I told her I used to build companies. She said, "Then build again." I told her I had lost everything. She said, "Then start from where you are." Her words were not poetry. They were rescue. We got off at the same stop. She walked me to a nearby food stall. Ordered 1 plate of rice and 2 spoons. I wanted to cry. But the pride I once wore like armor would not let me. She did not ask me to share my story. She offered silence, the kind that listens.
Weeks passed. We met often. On benches. At bus stops.
In the shade of broken trees. I started to clean up.
Shaved. Found work at a construction site.
Lifted bricks by day and ideas by night. She cheered every small win. When I opened my first stall, a cart selling coffee outside a local college, she stood beside it with a smile broader than my own. When I got my first investor, she made tea and whispered, "I always knew you would rise."
Noor became my compass, my calm,
my courage. And I fell in love with her before I knew what love even meant. But I had not told her who I truly was.
Not yet. Not the full truth.
Not the shameful fall from glory. Not the betrayals that buried me alive. Not the name I once carried that filled news headlines.
Until one day, I received a call.
My tech prototype, built secretly, quietly, with my last remaining patent, had just been valued at over $300 million.
A billionaire again.
But this time, I was not alone. This time, I knew what real wealth was. That evening, I wore the same shirt Noor had first seen me in.
Torn. Familiar. Real.
I asked her to meet me at the same bus stop. She arrived, breathless, her hair in a loose bun, holding 2 cups of chai.
Before she could speak, I knelt,
Held out a ring, not of diamonds, but of silver, engraved with the words "Start from where you are."
She froze.
And I finally said, "My name is Adil Rafiq. I once owned 5 companies. I lost them all to greed, betrayal, and pride."
She blinked. I continued.
"I became a billionaire again. But the only treasure I want to keep is you."
Before she could answer, a voice called my name.
Paparazzi flashed lights behind us.
She turned, stunned. Adil Rafiq. Trending.
Headlines everywhere. She looked at me, heart open, but eyes questioning.
I reached for her hand.
"Let me explain everything." Her fingers trembled in mine. The bus rolled past us.
Same stop. Same route. But this time,
the journey had changed. She did not let go of my hand. But she did not speak either. The world behind her buzzed with noise. Cameras clicking, reporters shouting my name like they had been waiting years to do so. But I saw only her. The girl who once gave her last coins to a stranger. The girl whose heart had more power than any empire. "Noor," I said, my voice trembling, "everything I am now is because of what you gave me when I had nothing."
Her eyes searched mine.
Slowly, painfully, she whispered, "Why did you hide who you were?"
A silence settled. Not cold, but wounded.
I took a breath and let the truth spill. Because I was ashamed. I had built my fortune on pride and power. When it collapsed, so did I. You met the broken version of me. The one who no longer knew how to be loved without achievements. Her lashes fluttered.
Tears pooled, but did not fall.
You saw me as a man, not a billionaire, not a failure, just a man. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.
She looked away. I waited.
The wind carried dust through the street. The smell of cardamom and diesel filled the air. She finally turned back to me. Her voice was soft but clear. "Do you love me, Adil? With your truth?
With your flaws?
With the man you became without money?" I knelt lower, pressing my forehead to her hand. "With everything I am. With everything I lost. With everything I hope to be." She cupped my chin, lifting my gaze. For a moment, I saw the battle in her eyes. Fear, love, doubt, hope. And then, she smiled. Not wide, not sure, but enough to let me breathe again. "You owe me one more bus fare," she said. I laughed. The cameras behind us captured the moment. But they would never capture the silence that passed between our hearts. That was ours alone. We walked away from the crowd. Together. No driver. No cars. Just 2 people, choosing to walk. As we turned the corner, I stopped. "I want you to see something." She tilted her head. I led her down a narrow alley. Past shuttered shops. To a large iron gate, chained and rusted. With effort, I unlocked it. The hinges groaned as they opened, revealing a vast, abandoned school building. Crumbling walls. Shattered windows. But a sign remained, barely hanging. "Noor Public School." She gasped. Tears filled her eyes. This is my childhood school," she whispered. I nodded. "I bought it this morning." Her hands covered her mouth. "I want you to rebuild it. In your name. For every child who needs a chance, like I did. Like you gave me." She fell to her knees. This time, I knelt beside her. She sobbed. I held her. The dusk sky deepened above us. Orange light spilled across the broken playground. In that moment, We were not rich or poor,
not lost or found. We were home.
but deep in my chest I knew our story was not finished.
There was more. More to confess. More to face. More to lose.
Because not everyone from my past had let me go.
And some of them
Were coming back.
The wind shifted.
A chill crept in, as if the past had caught the scent of my name and was now hunting it. Nor rested her head against my shoulder, unaware of the storm quietly forming behind the horizon of our joy.
But I felt it.
Like a shadow brushing the edge of light. She whispered, "You really bought this place for me?" I tightened my arms around her.
No.
I bought it for every little Noor who will grow up thinking kindness is weakness. For every child who is told that being good will never get them far. Her tears soaked through my shirt.
I let them.
They were sacred. But even as I held her, a knot grew in my gut. Because this gift, this dream, this second chance, was not safe yet. I had rebuilt my empire quietly, under a different name, in a different corner of the world. But the moment I stepped back into the light, into my real name, my old identity, I opened a door I had sealed long ago. And behind it waited those who had once destroyed me. And those I had once destroyed.
I stood slowly, offered Noor my hand. We should go.
She looked at me, confused. But there's so much I want to ask. So much I want to plan.
There will be time, I said gently. But tonight,
I just want to be with you. Away from everything. We walked hand in hand to the main road. But just as we reached the curb,
a black car pulled up fast.
Windows tinted. Engine still running. My breath hitched.
Noor noticed. A deal.
The back window slid down. A man in a tailored suit sat inside.
Dark eyes. Cold smile. He leaned slightly forward.
"You changed your number," he said smoothly. "Been a while, partner." Noor gripped my hand tighter.
Who is this? The man stepped out.
Polished shoes clicked on the pavement. "I am the reason he lost everything," the man said. "And I have come to collect what he still owes me."
Noor stepped between us.
Her voice was calm but firm. "He owes no one anything. He is not that man anymore."
The man chuckled.
And yet, the past has such a funny way of rewriting the future.
He reached into his coat,
pulled out a single piece of paper,
held it toward me. A contract.
Noor's name was on it.
So was mine.
And a signature I never remembered signing. My hands trembled. The man smiled wider.
Surprised?
You should be. You just gave her a school. But in the fine print, my friend, you gave me the right to take it away.
Noor turned to me,
her eyes searching again.
This time,
for the truth I had not even known I had buried.
A deal, what is this?
And I had no answer, because I had not seen it coming. And now, everything I built, everything we dreamed, hung on the edge of one man's greed.
And one woman's faith.
I stared at the paper. My own signature, clear, undeniable, mocked me from the bottom of the page. But I had never seen this contract before.
Not in this form.
Not with her name on it. Nor looked at me like she was standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting to know whether to jump or to run. I reached for the document with a trembling hand. The ink felt heavier than steel. My voice was raw when I spoke.
What is this? The man smirked. A forgotten deal.
You were desperate, remember? You signed away collateral when you begged me for one last chance. That collateral was any entity you built within 5 years of your bankruptcy, no matter whose name was on it.
I shook my head.
That clause, It was about patents, not people.
Not her.
He took a slow step closer.
Read again.
Noor took the paper from my hand. She read in silence. Then she looked up at me, betrayal flickering behind her calm, like lightning behind clouds. A deal. Did you ever intend to put this in my name?
My throat closed. I did. I swear to you, Noor.
This was supposed to be yours. Entirely.
She blinked once. Twice. But she did not cry.
She simply turned to the man and asked, "What do you want?" He tilted his head, amused by her audacity. "I want the property.
The land. The name.
All of it." "And if I say no?" she asked, chin lifted.
He smiled.
"Then your little school dies before it is born." Silence wrapped around us like smoke. A silence filled with choices, consequences, and wounds that refused to bleed. I stepped forward, my voice low. "I will pay whatever it takes."
Name your price.
The man's eyes glittered with something more dangerous than greed.
Revenge.
"This is not about money, Adil. It is about humility. I want you to kneel."
Noor gasped.
I felt the old me, the one who built empires with ego, rise inside like a flame ready to burn.
But I looked at Noor. And she looked at me. Not as a billionaire. Not as a man undone by pride.
But as someone who once fell, and chose to rise through kindness. I lowered my head. Dropped to my knees on the cracked pavement.
Not for him. But for her.
For the children who would one day run through the hallways of Noor Public School. For the man I had become, one who no longer measured his worth by standing tall.
The man laughed. He turned to leave.
"Pleasure doing business," he said over his shoulder. But Noor's voice stopped him cold.
"No." He paused.
She stepped beside me, still standing, still unbroken. "You want to take something built on love and sacrifice?
Then take it.
But know this. You can steal land, signatures, even titles. But you will never own what this place will mean to those who need it."
He scoffed.
But I saw the flicker of hesitation in his eyes. "You are a teacher," he sneered. "You know nothing of power."
She smiled.
"Power is not in taking. It is in giving." He walked away without another word.
The car roared off.
Silence returned. Noor slowly knelt beside me. Her hand reached for mine. And I whispered, barely audible, "I am sorry." She squeezed my fingers.
"I know."
I looked up at her.
But in her eyes
was something I had not seen before.
Not just love, but resolve.
"We are not giving up," she said. And in that moment, I knew. The fight had only just begun. Because what was at stake now was bigger than a school. Bigger than a contract. It was the soul of everything we had built.
That night, sleep did not come.
I sat on the floor of my apartment. Bare walls, dim lamp, the faint ticking of the clock on the windowsill echoing in the silence like a countdown. Noor paced slowly across the room. She was quiet, but not distant. Her presence was like a warm candle in a cold room, subtle, yet unwavering. She stopped at the window. Outside, the city blinked with life, unaware of the storm that had broken inside our little world. She spoke without turning around. "If he takes the land, the building, what do we have left?" I looked down at my hands. The same hands that once signed billion-dollar deals, now trembling to protect a broken school and a borrowed dream. "We have why we built it," I said. "And no one can take that."
She turned to me, eyes fierce.
"I will not let him win." I stood, walked toward her, and placed both hands on her shoulders.
"I will fight. But this time, not with pride. With proof."
"We will expose him." Whatever this contract is, whatever loophole he used, I will find it. She leaned into my chest, just enough for me to feel her heart beat. Then we fight together. Her words stitched something back together in me. A strength I had forgotten I still carried. By morning, I was knocking on the door of the only man who knew my past better than anyone else. Imran. My former CFO. Once my most trusted friend. Now, a ghost from the ruins I left behind. He opened the door after several long minutes. His face aged. Beard grown. Eyes wary. A deal. His voice held surprise and caution. I need your help, I said, without flinching. He let me in. The room was stacked with papers, ledgers, and dusty screens. He had never stopped digging, never stopped trying to understand what went wrong. I showed him the contract. He examined it closely. Brows furrowed. This clause, he murmured, pointing at the fine print, it was not in the original draft. My chest tightened. What are you saying? He looked up at me. There is a forged page in here. It was swapped. Where is the original? Destroyed. After your bankruptcy. They cleaned house. But he reached into an old box under his desk and pulled out a hard drive. Unless, this backup still works. He plugged it in. The screen flickered. Years of files loaded, documents, audits, internal emails. And then, there it was. The real contract. Clean. Pure. No clause about personal creations or third-party entities. I stared at it stunned. He had lied. Framed me. Used my signature to build a noose around my future. Nor leaned in, eyes wide. This could save the school. Imran nodded. Take this to court. It will take time. But this document, this is truth. I reached for the hard drive. But Imran stopped me. There is something else, he said quietly. Something in his voice turned the air cold. He opened another file. It was an email. From the same man who threatened me. Dated months ago. Subject, Operation Phoenix. The body of the email read, once a deal rebuilds anything, his ego, his fortune, his name, I will be there to burn it again. And this time, I will take the girl too. I froze. Noor's breath hitched. This was not business. This was personal. We had not just uncovered a forgery. We had walked into a war. And now, the stakes were far greater than land or legacy. They were after her. And I would not let that happen. Not again. Not ever. The courtroom was silent. Noor sat beside me, her hands folded gently in her lap, her eyes steady but kind. Across the aisle sat the man who once owned my name in shackles of shame. He looked powerful. But power borrowed through manipulation has a short life. And today, that life met its end. The judge reviewed the evidence, Imran's backup contract, the digital forensics, the email that revealed every hidden intent. It was not a loud moment. There were no gasps or cheers. Only a simple sentence. The contract is invalid. Ownership of the property reverts fully and solely to Ms. Noor Siddiqui. My breath escaped in a rush. I turned to her. Tears shimmered in her eyes. But she smiled. Not the smile of victory. The smile of peace. We walked out of the courtroom under the warm afternoon sun. Reporters chased us, but we said nothing. Some stories are not meant for headlines. Some stories are meant for hearts. We returned to the school the next morning. Workers were already there, painting, clearing debris, repairing what time had broken. Children from the neighborhood gathered around the gates. Curious. Hopeful. Noor welcomed them in. She walked through the halls, now alive with laughter and footsteps, as if the building itself remembered its purpose. I stood at the edge of the playground, watching her. The woman who had given me more than I ever knew I needed. She had not just paid my bus fare. She had seen me. And in seeing me, she taught me to see myself again. Not as a man of wealth, but as a man of worth. That evening, we held the school's opening ceremony. Noor stood on the small stage, her voice calm, her words simple. "This place is not about me," she said. "It is about second chances. About believing in people when they are forgotten. And about remembering, sometimes, the smallest kindness can change the course of a life." People clapped. Some cried. And I stood there beside her, no longer ashamed of my scars. Because they were not signs of failure. They were signs of growth. Moral lesson. In a world that often measures value by wealth, status, or power, this story is a reminder that the greatest investments are made in kindness, patience, and belief in others. Noor did not save a billionaire. She believed in a broken man when no one else did. And in doing so, she rewrote both of our stories. So if you ever have the chance to be kind, be. Because you may not just change someone's day. You may change their life. And if you are the one struggling today, remember, you are not alone. And you are never beyond a new beginning. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, share it, comment below, and let someone know. You are never alone.